Hello guys, today I want to talk one of the biggest issue that has been holding Japanese gaming studios back, right? They make really good games, right? But it feels like their games are actually not a complete games, and one of the biggest issue is that they take competition, they take multiplayer as a bad thing, right? Imagine if you're in Monster Hunter, if you will actually have guilds, fighting for setting a world record. Imagine having a guild that will try to set new fastest monster kills or first monster kills each week on my server. Or if you could actually come back to the city and you will see so many people running around, the world will feel so much more alive. I feel like we are still stuck in the PlayStation 1 and 2 era when we had turn-based role-playing games, right? There is so much potential when it comes to Japanese games. They really make good games, like Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, I think even Taken, I'm not even sure, right? They make really good games, but they are so outdated, right? Taken, for example, a Distrega, a 20-year-old game, has better action combat than Taken today. They think that, two-dimensional perspective is what makes Taken, right? But I think we desperately need some innovation. Or for example, imagine we could actually tame open world monsters as your mount. That would be so cool, man, right? And one of the biggest issue is that the games don't actually feel alive, right? There is not enough social aspect, there is not enough multiplayer open world aspect that really make the game feel so much more alive. For example, a starting city where you will see people running around doing their quests, right? The truth is that a lot of the games, especially like Monster Hunter, right? They call them a multiplayer games, but they're not actually multiplayer games. They're more like a single player or co-op games, right? They're glorified single player games in reality, right? And this has been one of the biggest issues that have been holding these companies back, right? Competition is not a bad thing. It makes the game feel so much more alive, right? They really know how to make good games, but they are being held back by the rules, right? Imagine next Monster Hunter with actual multiplayer aspects, right? With multiplayer elements. Or innovations like ability to tame open world monsters as your mount. Imagine how cool would that be when you return back to the city and you can proudly show everyone else what you managed to tame, right? The sense of community is lacking because in reality all those games are actually single player games, right? With co-op elements, right? But you have no real multiplayer elements, you have no clans fighting for world fastest monster clears each week, right? You have no when you return back to the city is empty, there are only NPCs there is no players there, so the game doesn't really feel alive, right? Monster Hunter World sold over 20 million copies. Imagine how much they could sell if we actually had more multiplayer elements, if the game would feel so much more alive, right? I always wanted to play multiplayer games because the sense of community, competition, means so much to me. I play games because I wanna spend time with other players, right? And this game is probably one of the best games on the market, even after so many years, but the lack of multiplayer element is really what is holding this game back, in my opinion. Like, I wanna return back to the city and I wanna see a city full of people, not just NPCs, right? I wanna see clans and competition, and I wanna have, for me, I just wanna go explore solo and find something that nobody else find yet. And with my skill I wanna earn something that I can proudly show to everyone else, right? And I wanna go on adventure with other people and group up with people so we can, reach the goal together, right? The challenges, and I wanna compete against other players too, There is so much potential in the Monster Hunter universe, but the rules are holding this game back. And one of the biggest one of the biggest things to discuss here is that there is so much untapped potential, but because there are, you know, people usually say, right, that would make the game so much more toxic, right? So are we really gonna waste so much potentials? One of the best gaming idea in the years of gaming industry, just because people can get toxic. You know, even now that we have single co-op, only those elements, even now people can still get toxic, and people will always get toxic, and it's just a competition. You can always, you know, in Final Fantasy we still don't have chat bubbles, which is one of the core social elements in a social game. They call Final Fantasy a social game, but we don't have basic social features like chat bubbles. You know, a bubble, when somebody says something, a bubble above their head, so you actually know from where the message is coming from, right? It feels way more real, way more alive. But if you just watch at the chat box all day long that gets spammed, that's not really a social game, right? It's not a social experience. And we cannot let so much potential go to waste just because people can get toxic sometimes. That doesn't make any sense. You're wasting so much potential here. You have the ability to make good games, but you're still being held back by the rules, right? And sometimes you even think that this, in some cases it's true, you know, sometimes these rules actually make who you are, right? But sometimes you have to adopt, and change can bring so much. You have, you know, Monster Hunter franchise has so much potential, but it's being held back by the old mentality, right? Imagine a Monster Hunter game where you could hunt monsters together with your friends or compete with others, when the city will be full of players, when the city will be alive, when you can go on adventure and try to get a new epic weapon or a cool mount, and then when you come back to the city you can proudly show to everybody what you achieved, what you earned. And this really makes the sense of community so much better. And this is what Japanese gaming studio desperately need, right? More social element, more multiplayer elements. I highly suggest that you watch the King's Avatar animation. It is one of the best gaming animation from Tencent, and it really shows you how a multiplayer elements can make your game feel so much alive. For example, every time a guild gets server first clear or server fastest clear, there is an announcement for every player in the game, right? And this brings so much more life to the game, right? Or, you know, innovations like ability to tame open world monsters as your mount. This is what Final Fantasy should do, and Monster Hunter, right? Or ability to learn new skills or when you explore, or treasure chest, or, you know, or actual fun PvP. You can just make, you know, 10 versus 10 capture the point game mode, right? Even open world, you can even make it open world, and that would be so fun, because arena, you know, when it comes to MOBA games, multiplayer online battle arena, most studios only care about Conquest or Dota players. That's why arena is such a huge open niche. If you just make a good action combat game, like 5 vs 5 arena style game, or 10 vs 10 with capture the points with some objectives, with good action combat and good social system like Smite, you can be one of the best MOBA on the market right now. There is so much untapped potential here. Next time I hope we actually group up with some players and experience this game more. So I'm a bit tired now, I need to eat, I need to get some sun, so thank you if you're still here, and hope you have a nice day today. See ya. Look at the view, man. But I bet outside it's even better. I hope one day we actually have this games like Monster Hunter World, but with the actual multiplayer element. It feels like the world is, I'm just playing this game solo, right? Even if people join me on my missions, you know. I wanna see people in the city running around, showing my new mount or weapon I just got, you know, to everybody in the city. This is what multiplayer, this is what Monster Hunter needs so desperately. A feeling of a community, of the game being alive, you know. They really know how to make good games, but some elements are still missing to actually make it a complete game. Or clan wars, fighting for world fastest clears. Each week there could be a new clan having a world fastest clear on my server. You know, there is so much untapped potential when it comes to Monster Hunter universe. This will be a good thumbnail. See ya and hope you have a nice day. Nothing, I just wonder, is Monster Hunter a single player or a multiplayer game? Is Monster Hunter a single player or a multiplayer game? Is Monster Hunter a single player or a multiplayer game? Nothing, I just wonder, is Monster Hunter a single player or a multiplayer game? Huh? Is Monster Hunter a single?
Ну-ка, дай ему. Печенюшки так как хрумкает, ну. Это правильно тебе, на. Нос холодный у него?
Такой.
Не как у собаки.
Ну это, слышь, на улице-то не.
The body is round.
Hello guys, good morning. Now this will be my first time to actually play Monster Hunter Online, and I have heard so many good things about this game. And Capcom really know how to make good games, but a lot of the time I notice that they don't actually make complete games. The games usually lack multiplayer open world element. Welcome to Jurassic World. Welcome to Monster Hunter Online. Welcome to Monster World. Welcome to Monster World Online. Welcome to Hunter Monster Online. No. Welcome to Monster Hunter Online. Welcome to Monster Hunter Online. Today I'm going to show you best way how to piss off the whole Monster Hunter community. Monster Hunter is not a multiplayer game, it's a co-op single player game. It's a single player co-op, it's a glorified single player game. We really need to give Capcom some credit, you know, they really know how to make good games, right? You know, the potential of Monster Hunter franchise is so huge, but it still feels like the game is not a complete game yet, right? The lack of open world multiplayer elements is one of the biggest reasons that holds the game back. For example, when you return to the city, there is no players there is no one you can actually show what you achieved, what you earned, right? We don't have ranked leaderboards for monsters, so you know, there is no guilds fighting for worst fastest clears every week on my server, right? And this is the elements that these games are missing. There is such a huge potential, right? And this would make the game so much more alive, right? And you know, this game sold 20 million copies. Imagine how many they would actually sold if we actually have open world multiplayer elements, right? Just imagine how cool it will be that everybody would start in their own little small town, in the starting town, and then everybody could go explore the new uncharted areas. You could group up, or you could go solo, or you could compete against other players, right? And then once you return back to the city, you can proudly show everyone else what items you achieved, or even what mount you actually get. I think, imagine we could actually tame open world monsters as your mount. This is such a cool concept. The more powerful you are, the strongest mount, the strongest monster you can tame as your pet or as your mount, right? And then in the city everybody will see that and they will ask you, man, where did you get that, right? That'd be so cool.
Sword and Shield is a close-range weapon set that focuses on agility and dodging. It's great for beginners.
Take out an entire fucking family? Let me tell you a couple of three things.
Hey, any questions before I go on from here?
Is Monster Hunter a single player or a multiplayer game?
But if I get elected president, I will bring it back. Bigger, better, stronger. Bigger, better, stronger. Bigger, better, stronger. Bigger, better.
Why did I just do that?